So, I've always said on this channel, it's always important to get a different view as around the world as much as possible, and if you want a really good view, I'd recommend going and look at the Irish Times. I'd put that on your bookmark, put that in your favourites, and have a read of that, because they've been doing some amazing work on Brexit. But today we turn to the Toronto Sun, and this is the travel advisory for Canadians in Britain warns of acts of violence linked to Brexit. So the Ottawa Global Affairs Canada has issued a travel advisory warning for Canadians in Britain, warning them of possible violence in the wake of today's latest twist in the country's Brexit drama. And by the way, I just want to know, I'm doing this on the Sunday, which is the 31st. Obviously this will be come out the week after, but we've just heard today that there were protesters, again, the Yellow Jackets, are out again. I don't know why I just put them in air quotes, but they are out basically trying to disrupt traffic on Parliament Bridge. You also had yesterday all the Eurostar trains got cancelled because someone apparently decided to protest on the lines and lock themselves to the road so that no Eurostar trains could move, apparently. So there you go. So they've got quite a right to be worried about this, and I think there could be potential violence brewing. We've already seen that at the protest on Friday, there was basically a passerby, nothing to do with the protest at all. He was just trying to get home on his bike, and a Brexit protester decided to hit him. So, and we've also had Channel 4 and CNN, as we reported this week as well. Both their crews have been physically abused, shall we say. So, things are not looking good in terms of this. So, I agree that in order to protect its citizens in the UK, Canada has every right to issue this warning. So, the department issued the updated advisory advice as the British politicians rejected the latest attempt to coalesce around the path out of the European Union. In the advisory, officials warn of acts of violence and confrontation between demonstrators and security forces around the parliamentary buildings and near Westminster Abbey in London. Canadians are urged to avoid areas where demonstrations take place and nearby subway stations. The department continues to recommend Canadians visiting the United Kingdom's exercise a high degree of caution due to the threat of terrorism. The UK... oh no. Is that continuing the story? Oh yes it is, yeah. The UK parliamentaries today rejected, for a third time, British Prime Minister Theresa May's plan for Brexit, setting the stage for for the country to clash out of the European Union next month with that replacement deal in place. That's entirely valid. I think you are right, and I am worried that we could see potential violence. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. I don't think that's scaremongering at all, because the amount of rhetoric that you have seen newspapers and other people who are Brexit supporters who have ramped up this all this stuff that they've been doing. You had on the Brexit march that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, you had a guy who was marching with a pike with the Chancellor's head on. You know, Philip Hammond. You know, this stuff is completely bizarre to our politics and our our political story, but this is it. And this is where it is taking us. And once again, this is the extremists on the right who have been pushing for this. As I've said before, there is no appetite, there never really was, for Brexit. Just look at the the Brexit betrayal march, you only got like a few thousands compared to the millions that turned up to remain in the European Union. This is something that will dominate our politics for the next decade or two, if not permanently, until we join the European Union. And as I've said, look, the harder the damage Brexit does, the faster we will end up back in the European Union. But that, of course, implies the damage and all that's going to do to this country. And I don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to be the lesson that people do. I mean, most of my town, 80% of my town in Barnsley, voted to leave. But I know that if a no deal happens, places like my town, who, again, overwhelmingly voted to leave, are going to be the hardest hit. And we've talked about this in the past, about the stories that have come out from Barnsley and the economic impact of a no deal with what's going to happen to this country, as well as, you know, the other deals that have been put on offer to Theresa May's deal. And I think there's a point where you've got to think that, and it's really worrying that people don't seem to want to pay attention to facts. There was a video of one of the Sheffield Remain groups, and there was someone live streaming from a protest, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Brexit protester comes out, and she starts to blame the increase of knife crime on the EU, because somehow the European Union influences people stabbing someone. Again, there's a massive leap of logic in there. And then when she starts trying this conversation about saying that, aren't you worried about what economists are saying about how much this is going to ruin? And she starts chastising her for bringing up facts and experts. And you're like, this is someone who supports Brexit. What is it going to take to change someone's mind like that? And, you know, one of the other things is that Brexiteers have been championing the fact that there has been this reduced flow of immigration from the EU and say, yay, we're going to get all these jobs back. But they haven't been paying the attention for the fact that since the referendum, and always has been the case, that our highest, immigration statistics have been from outside the European Union. They don't seem to care about that, but I guarantee you they will post-Brexit, all of a sudden, when the newspapers start to pick up on who they can fearmonger about next. But there you go. That's the state of British politics at the moment. To the point where you've had the Canadian, official have had to sanction an official warning to Canadian visitors saying, watch out for acts of violence and terrorism. And they've linked it to Brexit. That's where we are.